That's one small step for man, one giant leap for
যারা জয়েন করলো তাদেরকে বলি যে আমরা এখন নাসাতে বাস ট্যুরে যাচ্ছি, যেখানে আমরা সব লঞ্চ প্যাড দেখব। সেখানে আমরা বঙ্গবন্ধু লঞ্চ প্যাড যেটা আমাদের স্যাটেলাইটের, সেটাও দেখব। সেটা এক এক করে আপনারা সঙ্গে থাকেন, দেখবেন সবাই, আশা করি এক এক করে দেখাবো। এই যে লঞ্চ প্যাডগুলো আসছে, সেখানে আমি বলবো কখন বঙ্গবন্ধু লঞ্চ প্যাড, আমি অলরেডি খবর নিয়েছি, এটা আমরা দেখবো এখন যে লঞ্চ প্যাডটা যে জায়গা থেকে এটা উৎক্ষেপণ হয়েছে।
But before we begin this journey, just like every NASA mission, our #1 goal is to return home safely. So always stay seated while the bus is in motion. Please, no food or drinks on the bus with the exception of water. Please keep conversation to a minimum so others may hear and enjoy the tour. No photography is permitted at the security gates, but there will be plenty of photo opportunities during the tour.
Hi, I'm Emily Calandrelli, and I'm excited to go behind the gates at Kennedy Space Center and experience the incredible achievements of NASA. I'm standing next to a real Mercury Redstone rocket, the same rocket that began NASA's journey of human space exploration. Our trip today will begin at the same Mercury Redstone and take us from the Apollo and Space Shuttle programs into current day activities at this multi-user spaceport into the exciting future of NASA. The work that's being done right this moment at Kennedy Space Center is bringing us closer to that next monumental achievement in space exploration. To welcome you, here's Space Shuttle astronaut and Center Director of Kennedy Space Center, Bob Cabana.
Hi, I'm Bob Cabana. Welcome to NASA's John F. Kennedy Space Center, where NASA astronauts have ventured forth on flights of exploration since the 1960s, and where future space exploration will take us to the Moon, Mars, and beyond. What an exciting time to visit our multi-user spaceport as we celebrate NASA's 60th anniversary and the 50th anniversary of the Apollo program that saw a dozen astronauts on the lunar surface from 1969 to 1972. In all our history, there's been one common theme woven throughout our DNA. It's our insatiable desire to explore beyond our home planet and our never-ending quest to expand our knowledge of the universe. As you venture behind the gates, you'll find a community of the most talented, dedicated, motivated workforce anywhere in the world who believe in the unlimited potential of space exploration. This is an active spaceport where new things are happening every day. You never know what you might see, so enjoy your tour.
You are now approaching the Vehicle Assembly Building, or as NASA calls it, the VAB. It is one of the largest buildings in the world by volume, and is the place where NASA completes the final assembly of its rockets before launch. The sheer scale of this building is hard to grasp, even when you're right next to it.
Do you ever feel really small when you think about space? What about when you're standing next to a skyscraper or a really big bridge? Well, I feel about as small as an ant right now. I'm standing inside the Vehicle Assembly Building trying to grasp how large it really is in here. It has 4 bays. Each bay has 2 large horizontal doors below it and 7 smaller vertically opening doors above it, tall enough to fit the world's largest rocket crew. In fact, these are the largest doors in the world.
It was built in the 1960s for the Apollo program. Every Saturn V rocket that sent humans to the moon was assembled right here. Every space shuttle mission also assembled within these same walls. After the space shuttle program, a major renovation to the inside of this building began to accommodate NASA's next generation of rockets, the Space Launch System, or SLS. Lockheed Martin has developed a capsule called Orion that will sit atop the SLS rocket. This capsule is designed to facilitate human exploration of the moon and eventually Mars. The first flown Orion capsule from Exploration Flight Test 1, EFT-1, sits inside the NASA Now exhibit at the Visitor Complex. This uncrewed test flight launched atop the Delta IV Heavy rocket in 2014 The 4.5-hour flight took the spacecraft around the Earth 2 times before splashing down in the Pacific Ocean, where it was recovered and eventually brought back to KSC. Just outside of the VAB, you'll see the Launch Abort system, designed to fit atop the Orion capsule, which will be tested in 2019. If anything goes wrong during launch, the Launch Abort system will quickly pull the capsule away from the rocket below with abort motors that produce 400,000 pounds of thrust, enough to lift 10 buses, just like this bus. The construction of the VAB required 65,000 cubic yards of concrete, 45,000 steel beams, 1 million steel bolts, amounting to almost 100,000 tons of steel. Notice the flag painted on the outside of the VAB? It's the size of a 21-story building. The blue section alone is the size of an NBA basketball court. Each star is 6 feet across, and each red and white stripe is wide enough for this bus to drive down. And the entire VAB? It's so huge that the Roman Colosseum would fit on the roof with room to spare for a parking lot. By volume, the VAB can fit 3.5 Empire State Buildings, and it would take 250 billion ping pong balls to fill it.
NASA is known for dreaming big, and big dreams require big equipment. I'm standing next to the Crawler Transporter, the largest self-powered land vehicle in the world. It was originally built in 1965 for the Apollo program, and has since been updated to accommodate the space shuttle and now NASA's SLS rocket. Weighing in at 6 million pounds and capable of lifting and hauling 18 million pounds, the Crawler is an engineering marvel, even without a rocket sitting on top of it. This thing has 2,750 horsepower V16 diesel engines that can carry the Crawler up to a top speed of, wait for it, 1 mile per hour while carrying a rocket. Keep an eye out for the Crawler as we approach this area. And remember, we are visiting a working spaceport, so while the Crawler may not stay in one area for very long, it's bound to be out here somewhere. Now, let me introduce you to my friend, John Giles, the Crawler project manager.
I'm standing in front of Crawler Transporter number 2 at the Kennedy Space Center. Crawler Transporter number 2 will be used for the SLS program to take the launch vehicle back and forth to the pad. We will begin by going underneath the mobile launcher. We'll pick it up, we'll take it over to the VAB. They'll then assemble the launch vehicle on top of the mobile launcher, and then we'll come back to the VAB. We'll slide underneath it again, we'll pick it up, we'll take it out to the pad, a trip of about 4.2 miles. It'll take us about 7 hours to get there. But during our trip to the launch pad, we'll roll over a specially prepared crawler weight that consists of anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of special rock. Below that is limestone that's about 4 feet thick and compressed to hold the weight of the crawler and the mobile launcher. And then below that is some hydraulically compacted sand that can support all the weight. And then once we're there, we'll drop it all off. And a few days later, there'll be a launch. We'll come back, we'll pick the mobile launcher up, and we'll bring it back to the VAB to start the process all over again.
With 50 years and some 3,000 kilometers or 2,000 miles on the clock, NASA expects the Crawlers to be in operation for at least another 3 decades. How cool is that? The latest...
Off to your right over there is a Crawler Transporter. We have 2 of them. The other one's inside the building, the vehicle assembly building. Now the Crawler, if you look on the left front corner, there's a box there with glass around it. That's the driver's compartment. There's another one in the back on the opposite corner that he goes to when he's driving back out in the other direction. There's 2 tracks on each corner. One track alone has 57 cleats on it, and each cleat weighs 1 ton. When the Crawler is transporting the shuttle out to the launch pad, the shuttle would be on top of a mobile launch platform just like this one in front of us. And when the Crawler was taking it out there, it would take it 7 hours to get out there. When it's taking the shuttle out, its maximum speed is a little bit less than a half a mile an hour. and its fuel mileage is 32 feet to the gallon. Now this mobile launch platform with the Omega sign on the side of it is in the process of being remodified for a company that's going to be launching their rockets from this mobile launch platform. Now when the crawler took this mobile launch platform out to the launch pad and set it down on pedestals just like it is right here, when the shuttle lifted off, the flames from the shuttle's engines and the two solid rocket boosters would pass right through that mobile launch platform as they were going into the flame trench. Now this is the exact same mobile launch platform that was used by the shuttle. We actually have 3 of them. And you can see those openings underneath to which the flames would have passed through there during liftoff. In the front was for the shuttle's 3 main engines, and in the rear, each one of those was for each one of the solid rocket
স্যাটেলাইট
boosters.
উৎক্ষেপণ করা হয়েছিল এই জায়গাটায় মাত্র দেখাইলাম এই যে
Now the height of the vehicle assembly building is equivalent to the height of a 52-story building. It has 4 large bay doors. They are the world's tallest vertical doors. When we open one of them up, it would take 45 minutes to get it open all the way. And it takes just as long to get them closed. The height of those doors is 456 feet tall. Those 7 upper panels you see, they can open independently by themselves. They do that a lot for ventilation inside because they have no climate control. And each one of those panels weighs 32 tons.
I'm in the wrong places.
Next building coming up on the right is Launch Control Center for Kennedy Space Center. We have 4 firing rooms inside. NASA has 1, SpaceX has 1, and the other company that's going to be launching that Omega rocket, they have 1. So there's 1 left over. Now on the day of a launch, inside one of those firing rooms, there could be as many as 200 people. Each one of them would have a specific task to perform, either before, during, or after the launch. And right here to the right, all this stone, this is the crawler way. It goes all the way out to pad 39A and to pad 39B. We are going to drive right alongside of it as we go out to pad 39A. Now the crawler uses this whole crawler way. The left side goes down one and the right side is on the other. It's a one lane highway.
Refurbishment is complete and preparation is well underway for the first SLS mission. The crawler will be doing what it was originally designed to do once again, which is moving rockets. We're inside the VAV at level 26, 274 feet up. And I can see behind us, right over to the right, the newly added crew access arm attached to this mobile launcher. I want everyone here to meet Cliff Lannon, the mobile launcher project manager. Cliff, can you explain the significance of adding that access arm?
Sure. The crew access arm is one of the last major modifications to the mobile launcher in preparation for SLS and Orion. It basically will be the very last place on Earth that the crew will be before they're in the spacecraft and headed to space. Now, the white room provides a contamination-free environment up next to the spacecraft, and as you suspect, it's white. Hence the white room.
Makes sense. Now, how does the mobile launcher support the SLS rocket?
The mobile launcher provides fuel and power to the SLS and the Orion. It's actually the stacking platform for the rocket. So there's a platform next to this 380-foot tower that the rocket is actually built next to, and then the umbilical arms attached to it to provide that fuel and power.
Wow. And so does the mobile launcher actually go all the way to the launch pad with the rocket?
It does, and the crawler transporter comes in.
আমি কিন্তু বঙ্গবন্ধু স্যাটেলাইটের জায়গা যেখান থেকে উৎক্ষেপণ হয়েছিল আমি কিন্তু আপনাদেরকে দেখিয়েছি সেটা আমরা পেছনে ফেলে আসছি ওই জায়গা থেকে ওই রকেটটা ওইটা হচ্ছে লঞ্চ প্যাড ওইটা এখনো আছে আমি দেখালাম কিন্তু
And I hope everyone here today has a great time at Kennedy Space Center. Enjoy all the great exhibits and come back soon.
Now the road's going to bend to the right here. When we go around, you're going to see some water, and the land on the other side is Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. There are 3 active launch pads over there that you will be able to see from here. The first one looks straight down the middle of the road, and that is pad 41. That is where they launched the Atlas V rocket. That is United Launch Alliance. On down to your right, 4 Lightning Towers. That is pad 40. And that is SpaceX's launch pad. That's where they launch a single-core Falcon 9 rocket. And if we go all the way down to the end by that tall, skinny building, that is pad 37. That is where they launch the Delta IV and the Delta IV Heavy. That is also United Launch Alliance. We're going out here to pad 39A, SpaceX's launch pad.
Here we are at the home of the most historic launch pads in the world. Just behind me are launch pads 39A and 39B. These 2 pads launched every single space shuttle mission to assemble and service the International Space Station, to launch the Hubble Space Telescope, to deploy satellites, and to conduct scientific experiments. We're looking out at launch pad 39A, where every man who walked on the moon began their journey. 82 space shuttle missions also launched from right here. Since the space shuttle program ended in 2011, this launch pad has been transformed to accommodate a private space organization. Can you guess?
SpaceX, the venture started by tech entrepreneur Elon Musk in 2002, signed a 20-year lease for the use of pad 39A. You may have watched their Falcon Heavy test flight, the one that sent a Tesla Roadster into space. This is where it launched. The Falcon Heavy rocket is currently the most powerful operational rocket in the world by a factor of 2. SpaceX made history in 2012 when it delivered their Dragon spacecraft into orbit to rendezvous with the International Space Station, making SpaceX the first commercial company ever to visit the space station.
You can see that same Dragon capsule back at the visitor complex in the NASA Now exhibit. Since then, SpaceX has made numerous deliveries to the ISS, and some of their Dragon capsules have been used more than once. But the Dragon capsule isn't the only hardware they reuse. Yes, I'm talking about reusable rockets. SpaceX expertly lands many of their rocket boosters after launch. Sometimes they land back here at Cape Canaveral, while others may land on an autonomous drone ship floating in the ocean. The ability to recover and reuse rocket boosters is one of the most exciting developments in the aerospace industry in recent years. This advance in rocket technology is helping to bring down the cost of launching payloads into space, allowing more and more exciting technology to be deployed for use.
Now looking up on the launch pad, you see the tallest structure, that is called the fixed service structure. That structure would have serviced the rocket while it was out here on the launch pad. Up near the top, that white extension, the long one that's sticking out to the left, that is the crew access arm. That is what the astronauts would walk through as they're going over to get in the crew capsule. Right now, it's in the launch position. When the astronauts walk through it, it would be rotated over to the right side up against the capsule. At the base of that structure is another white structure that's on the ground, and that is called a strong back. It sits on rails, and those rails allows it to come down and go inside that building behind us, where they would then put the rocket onto that launch structure. Then it comes back up to the top of the launch pad, and they can erect that rocket up vertically, either for the test firing of the rocket engines or for the actual launching of the rocket. Now this is SpaceX's launch pad, Pad 39A. They have a 20-year lease on this launch pad, and they are in their 5th year of that lease. This is where they primarily launched their heavy-lift Falcon 9 rocket, which is a 3-core rocket. Now we're going to go to Pad 39B. We used to launch shuttles from there. When the shuttle was retired, NASA took that structure down and made it what we are now calling a clean launch pad. Now this does allow us to launch multiple types of rockets from that one launch pad. So regardless of whether you are the government, commercial, or even private, you can launch a rocket from Pad 39B. Directly in front of us up here is the Atlantic Ocean. We're going to turn left to go to Pad 39B, and not too far down the road, we're going to stop for about 30 seconds. You'll be able to take photos of Pad 39A.
Launchpad 39A has been NASA's Rockstar launch pad here at the Kennedy Space Center for the last 50 years. Pretty soon, though, as NASA strives to make its next great leap to return to the moon and onto Mars, the spotlight may shift here to Launchpad 39B. I'm standing in the flame trench of Launchpad 39B. During a launch, the temperatures in this area can get up to 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit. 39B was built for the Apollo program. It was used for the launch of Apollo 10, 3 Skylab missions, and for the Apollo-Soyuz test project. Now, we're going to go up to the top of the pad to meet with Nick Moss, the Deputy Project Manager of Launchpad 39B. Nick, can you tell us where are we standing right now?
We're standing on the pad surface of Launch Complex 39B, the future launch site of the SLS rocket.
Where does the rocket actually go around here?
It sits on top of those mountain mechanisms on top of the mobile launcher. The tower is going to be up on the north end, the vehicle just south of that, and ultimately it will fly up through the center of the lightning protection, around 600 feet above it.
Which one is the lightning protection system?
Lightning protection is the 3 towers around us, the catenary system up above it. They protect the vehicle from the lightning strike and take all of the current from the lightning down.
Now, this is a really big rocket, so I imagine there had to be modifications to this launch pad to support the SLS?
There's been a large amount of modifications over the past 20 years.
আমরা একটা স্টপ করছি, এই যে কচ্ছপ একটা রাস্তা মানে পার হচ্ছে, যে কারণে আমাদের বাসটা এখন স্টপ। এই যে আরেকটা কচ্ছপ, এই যে কচ্ছপের জন্য আমাদের গাড়িটা এখন একটু বন্ধ আছে। এরা এখানে কি করছে বুঝতে পারছি না, বাট লুক লাইক ও এখানে পানি আছে নিশ্চয়ই, যে নদীর মতো লেকগুলা। It's a massive, it's a big area. The Kennedy Space Center যে এরিয়া, এটা অনেক বড়, এটা অনেক বড়, ছোটখাটো একটা দেশের মতো আমি বলবো। Clear.
Following the Apollo program, Launchpad 39B hosted 53 space shuttle missions. Today, the facility is a clean pad. It does not house a permanent launch tower. That mobile launcher you saw earlier is set here by the crawler transporter for SLS launch. During the refurbishment, 1.3 million feet, over 400,000 meters of copper cables were replaced with 300,000 feet, 91,440 meters of fiber optic cable.
That's it.
The 3 lightning towers,
Yeah, that's good now.
600 feet, 183 meters high, taller than the VAB, were installed to provide protection from a lightning strike that could damage the rocket before
This is the
launch.
problem using
After
iPhone.
all, Florida is the lightning capital of the United States. This launch pad is full of impressive features. The water tower over there holds 400,000 gallons, over 1.5 million liters of water. All of that water is dumped on the mobile launcher and inside the flame trenches in less than 30 seconds during a launch. That's roughly 1.1 million gallons per minute. That's enough to empty roughly 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools in 1 minute. The water not only cools off the launch pad and equipment, it helps suppress the incredibly powerful sound waves that could damage the spacecraft during liftoff.
We're here in front of Space Shuttle Atlantis, which
Now, they were just telling you about that water tower with the 400,000 gallons of water in there, how it dumps it onto the mobile launch platform and to the launch vehicle just right before liftoff. And the water cools the launch equipment and also suppresses the sound waves. So I'm sure that all of you have seen the shuttle launch or any other rocket launch on television. And when you saw those rocket engines being ignited, you saw that white smoke that went out to the side. Well, that is steam from all that water. That is not smoke. This is our clean launch pad. This is where one day we'll be launching astronauts on their way to Mars. That'll be with
আমি আপনাদেরকে দেখাই সেটা হচ্ছে এই হচ্ছে লঞ্চ প্যাড যেখান থেকে ভবিষ্যতে মার্সে যখন তারা মানে পাঠাবে তখন তারা এই লঞ্চ প্যাড থেকে তারা পাঠাবে আপনাদেরকে দেখাই মার্সে যখন যাবে মার্স অভিযানে এখান থেকে রকেট পাঠাবে তারা এই হচ্ছে লঞ্চ প্যাড দেখেন আপনারা
Right from this launch pad, it will launch astronauts on their way to Mars.
Wow, incredible.
Now they should be starting to assemble that rocket onto the mobile launch platform. It's kind of hard to say because I know they have one more test to go through. And they had it out here on the launch pad for 2 months, checking it out, making sure that everything worked exactly as it's supposed to. And when the hurricane came, they took it back to the vehicle assembly building. So I don't know whether they're actually through with it or not, but they have the other tests, and I know they'll bring the crawler out, and I'll point out to you where there are cement, I don't know what they're called, looks like pilings. They're going to stack those on top of the crawler to simulate the weight of the mobile launch platform.
আমি আবারো দেখাই এখান থেকে মার্সে যাবে রকেট এই যে এই হচ্ছে লঞ্চ প্যাড যেটা তৈরি হচ্ছে এখন ভবিষ্যতে
to make it up that 5% grade up to the top. Now when we go back to the moon, that's no big deal. We're going to have human beings up around the moon, on the moon, and probably orbiting the moon. Just like we've had humans on the International Space Station since the year 2000. That's almost 20 years constantly there have been humans on the International Space Station. So we have no problem going to the moon and doing the same thing.
Interesting. So আপনাদেরকে আমি দেখালাম সেটা হলো যে জায়গাটা
I know I heard on the news just the other day that they awarded a contract, I believe it's 2 year, might be 3, for a company that can make oxygen on the moon out of the moon dust.
Wow.
So we'll see.
So আপনারা দেখলেন সেটা হলো যে আমরা পিছনে ঠিক ফেলে আসলাম এখন যেখান থেকে মার্সে যে যাবে যে অভিযান মার্স অভিযান যেটা আমেরিকার ইভেন ডোনাল্ড ট্রাম্প যিনি বর্তমানে এটাকে সমর্থন করছেন পয়সাপাতি দিচ্ছেন আমরা পিছনে ফেলে আসলাম ইনক্রেডিবল এটা আমরা ভবিষ্যতে দেখবো যে এখান থেকে মানে রকেট যাচ্ছে মার্সে এটা তৈরি হচ্ছে এখন তারা রেডি করতেছে আন্ডার কনস্ট্রাকশন
Hi, Bill, can you tell us what is the purpose of the space station?
The space station is built to conduct research in partnership with Russia, Canada, Japan, Europe, and we're working with companies from all over the planet to be able to do that science and technology development. We're working with many companies here in the United States that will continue that process and to come up with new technologies that will benefit us here.
And I know there's a lot of research that goes on up there. What are the benefits of that research?
Well, almost everything that we do on the ISS has a derivative here on Earth that benefits you. Every time you pull out your cell phone to take a picture, the sensor in that cell phone that you're using to take that picture was developed by NASA. Research on that to prove it all. That's direct benefits down here like next month. We have a very high-tech water purification system that we have developed, and that technology is transferred directly to Earth's people in all places.
And this space station has been up there for many years, but what is the future?
That's the end of the tour, right?
Right for the ISS. We have flying 2028 or give or take. The station
Okay.
is going to serve as a
Okay.
platform
That's what I'm asking.
for continued scientific research and technology development. We're going to use that technology as we segue into going to the Gateway project. And very shortly in the next year, the Commercial Crew Program is going to begin sending astronauts to the ISS on American rockets from American soil. So, very bright future, and things are looking up again for Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah, the International Space Station sounds like a very important place. Thank you for telling us all about it, though.
Thank you.
Oh, you said the launch
Take a
pad.
look at the 4-story building with the slanted windows as we drive through this area. This is the Launch Control Center, where launch directors and their teams oversee every NASA rocket that lifts off from KSC and give the final go or no-go. I'm inside the LCC with Charlie Blackwell Thompson, the first female launch director. Charlie, can you tell us, what does the launch director do?
Well, the launch director's job, I think, is a pretty special job on launch day. And it's really to look at how the team is proceeding through launch countdown. Is there things that we should be doing that we're not? Are we on schedule? Are there steps that we need to be taking? It's really to kind of stand back and take that big picture look at launch.
Helipad 2.
The folks that are on the floor, the team of engineers that are in the firing room, they have a very tough job on launch day, and that's to evaluate the ground and the flight systems and ensure that they're ready for T0 or liftoff.
And what does it mean to you to be the launch director of this very important mission, EM1?
Well, it's very special. To be part of an inaugural launch team is something amazing, really, and to be part of bringing a new capability to America's space program with the SLS rocket and the Orion spacecraft, and sending them on this mission known as EM1 is pretty incredible.
Right. And what is your role leading up to that big launch?
So leading up to launch, it's not all about that launch day. There's a lot of work that goes into getting the ground systems, the flight systems, and the team ready for that day. And so there's work on preparing the team, doing training, certification, ensuring that they're ready to go in those final minutes and final seconds of launch countdown when you have to do critical commanding, critical verifications. It's also about ensuring that our ground systems are ready, all of the capabilities that you need for launch. It's testing them and ensuring that they're ready for launch day as well. And so it's about getting the people ready, and getting the team ready, getting their paper procedures, defining launch countdown, ensuring that all of that critical work fits together in the most effective and optimal way.
Right. And something that we've all heard of, a scrub. What does it mean for a launch to be scrubbed?
So when a launch is scrubbed, that means that we have decided that we're no longer going to attempt to launch that day, and that we're going to come back on another day and try again. And so that's the terminology that we use when we're going to call it off or call it quits for that day, but come back in another day or two and try another launch attempt.
Charlie, thank you so much for teaching us all about what a launch director does and the important work that's being done here at LCC.
The building's off to our left here. This is where the press and the media stage whenever they are going to do any coverage of a launch. And if you look off to your right, there's two short buildings over there. Both of them are the same height. Each one has a dark blue trim around the upper roof edge. Those two buildings were orbiter processing facilities. It's like a maintenance shop for the shuttle. Once the orbiter returned from being in space and landed on the runway, they would have brought it down here and put it inside one of three of those buildings. Now the third one's just coming into view from behind the vehicle assembly building, has that blue painting on the side of it, and Boeing is inside of that building, and they are building their new crew capsule, which is called the Starliner. Now, Boeing's crew capsule, the Starliner, and SpaceX's crew capsule, called the Crew Dragon, those two will be taking astronauts back to the International Space Station by the end of this year. We have not launched astronauts to the International Space Station from soil here in the United States since the year 2011. All our astronauts have been riding on Russia rockets, crew capsules, at an extremely high cost per astronaut.
Even though rockets often launch from Kennedy Space Center, astronauts have not traveled to space from the United States since the last shuttle mission in 2011. NASA's Commercial Crew Program is bringing human spaceflight back to American soil. In 2018, NASA announced the astronauts who will fly these historic missions. For the first time, NASA astronauts will ride to the International Space Station aboard spacecraft developed by private companies. Boeing and SpaceX তারপর আমরা স্যাটার্নে যাব সেই টোরটা দেখাবো আপনাদেরকে সাথে থাকার জন্য ধন্যবাদ এবং এটা বলি যে অনেক ইনক্রেডিবল কিছু জিনিস দেখলাম সেখানে সেটা তো পরে এটা আলোচনা করা যাবে আমি দেখলাম কোন জায়গা থেকে বঙ্গবন্ধু স্যাটেলাইট উৎক্ষেপণ করা হয়েছিল তারপরে কোন জায়গা থেকে মার্সে যাবে মার্স অভিযানে অ্যাস্ট্রোনট এবং তারপরে মুনে যাচ্ছে যেটা বাই ইন অ্যাবাউট 2 to 3 years সব কিছু দেখলাম যে প্যাডগুলো রেডি হচ্ছে তারা রেডি করছে ইনক্রেডিবল গ্রেট এক্সপিরিয়েন্স সবাইকে বলবো যে যদি সুযোগ হয় এখানে আসবেন দেখা যাবেন সবাইকে ভালো থাকবেন আমরা সবাই They currently launch the Atlas V, Delta IV, and Delta IV Heavy rockets. SpaceX launches their Crew Dragon on top of their Falcon 9 rocket. All of these partners are reinvigorating the space community here at Kennedy Space Center and beyond. Every day, we all benefit from the incredible technological advancements that these organizations help make happen. Private space manufacturing and transportation companies like SpaceX, Boeing, United Launch Alliance, Vector, and Lockheed Martin, among others, are seizing the opportunity to launch satellites and perform other low Earth orbit missions.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
When President John F. Kennedy made this speech in 1962, he set in motion an era of discovery that would change humankind forever. 7 years after he spoke these ambitious words, the world watched as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first people to walk on the moon. The achievements of the men and women who worked